And so I'm Dale with Realvolve Firepoint, and joining me today is Michael Thorne from BC, Canada, and I've also got Jacob with us today, but he's helping me with some of the administrative stuff. So Jacob's going to hide himself behind the logo there, and we'll probably be jumping in and communicating in chat with all of us today. So Michael, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Dale. I appreciate that.
Yeah, so thanks for joining us. Today we're talking about escaping the transaction. And Michael, you're one of my favorite people to talk to because you're just full of very thoughtful sound bites. Sound bites sounds almost too, too kitsch or something for what you really provide. I always have seen you as somebody that thinks a lot about what they're doing. Socrates said the unexamined life is not worth living. And I think you're somebody that thinks about what he's doing, thinks about the people around you, thinks about the life that you're trying to create and the culture that you're trying to create around you. And so it's always a treat to talk to you because you've thought about things. So again, thanks for always being generous and coming on with us.
Dale, first of all, I appreciate that. But I get to talk about a lot of different topics. This one, like this stuff to me is the stuff that really, really matters. And hopefully our conversation will inspire other people to have that thought about their business and to look at it the way that we do.
Yeah. I mean, I noticed a few years ago, I don't know exactly when it was, maybe 5 or 10 years ago, somewhere, 7 years ago or something. I saw this conversation on Twitter pop up that was kind of pushing against that hustle culture that a lot of us get sucked into in our businesses. And really, at the end of the day, if we're not fulfilled, what are we doing? And we all know, and we all have known for a long time, that money by itself doesn't fulfill us. Or success in and of itself is not what's fulfilling. It's this end goal that we're striving towards that we kind of have in the back of our head and are always afraid to bring it up. And that's what I'm always excited to talk about, because we've known that. We just haven't given ourselves permission to make that the main part of the conversation. We're afraid that people are going to see us as lazy or not ambitious enough or not as worthy because I'm not doing 9,000 transactions a year and this other person that was on this previous webinar is. And so I can't speak because they're the ones that are really successful.
Yeah. And that's, once again, you're using, and this is one of my big pain points in our industry, you're using that word successful as defined by our industry. Our industry has said, hey, if you're a real estate agent in the industry, this is what success means. It's your definition. But look up success in the dictionary. So I defined personally my definition of success 7 years ago and became very clear of what my definition of success was, and not to have other people make that definition for me or our industry. But I think a lot of agents, they get so beat up by this definition our industry puts on them that then they take that on as their definition. And it's just not fair. It's the wrong way to look at it. And what I mean by that is our industry says that gross volume commissions or number of deals or close gross commit, whatever it is, that's success. But a single parent, making $80,000 a year that doesn't miss any of their kids' dance recitals, that's success in such a huge level. And our industry doesn't acknowledge that. And so, that's the thing, to find out what that definition is for yourself, and then pursue that and ignore what the industry wants to bestow upon us as the default definition. So, I think that's a huge starting point for the conversation we're having is defining that word for yourself or for your team or for your family, whatever it is.
Yeah. And you and I talked about two different types of agents.
Yeah.
You said there's the entrepreneur versus the people who don't want a boss. And we're going to get into automation here in just a second. I promise this is all connected. Tell me a little bit about your philosophy on the entrepreneur versus the people that don't want a boss.
Yeah, I mean, very different, and that's sort of, and to me, there's a lot of things that factor into the transactional agent and the business owner. Those are two different, those are two different things. In our industry, that's really what we're talking about. Escaping the transaction is to go from being a transactional agent to having a business that you can run in the way that you deem you want to create your business. And really, over 26 years I've been doing this. To me, there are entrepreneurs in this business, and there are people that don't want a boss. And it's a very small, subtle difference, but it's by using two words that mean the same thing to them, but mean different to the people saying it. It's the people that use the word spend versus the people that use the word invest. So it's very, very subtle. To me, it's when someone says, I don't want to spend 4 hours learning that new skill versus I don't want to invest 4 hours learning that new skill. Spend means there's really no return on what you're doing. Spend is out. Spend, it's gone. Invest means I'm going to put something in for a return later on. And so if you are spending money on some video equipment or you're investing in your video equipment, the word invest implies that there's going to be a greater return than the initial cost. And it's very subtle, but I hear agents all the time, and I've become sort of really aware of it when I'm talking to agents. Agents that are successful and happy use the word invest far more than they use the word spend. And that is that entrepreneur idea, that ROI. If you don't understand the ROI of everything you do, then you aren't an entrepreneur. So if I could write you a check for $5,000 today, Dale, and 3 months from now, you'll write me a check for $10,000, I'd write you checks for $5,000 all day. So that's an investment. And so understanding that when we're putting in time, like our team has invested a lot of time taking the Navigator program. We're not spending our time, we're investing our time because we see the great return on it and a lot of things. So that's, to me, the big difference in mentality between a business owner and someone who doesn't want a boss.
Yeah, and it's almost like a half is glass, or the glass is half empty versus the glass is half full, a little bit. But you kind of talk about just this mindset shift. But when investing in technology or investing in automation, how do you approach the risk factor there? Understanding that not every single thing that you purchase, spend time on is actually going to pay you back. How do you juggle those two, I guess, the two possible outcomes?
Well, I mean, that's the great thing about being on an amazing team, right? With Jordan and Trish, is this idea that we can look at something from different angles. We're three very different personalities. When we were looking for a new CRM, I mean, to be quite frank, we sat down and we looked at all the different options from different angles. And we was like, okay, if we're going to invest our time, where do we think the best return is going to be? And, then you invest your time in the research, and not everything's a home run. Absolutely. It's not everything's a home run. But one of the things also having a team, like Jordan, team members like Jordan and Trish, it's allowed me to be a little bit more curious, to go out and find out what works and what doesn't work. But in large, with successful people or people that are entrepreneurs in this real estate industry, and I've noticed a drastic change in the last 10 years. If you see anyone doing something that piques your interest or that, or gets you curious, if you pick up a phone to almost any real estate agent in this business and ask them what they're doing and what the results are and what the pain points are, they'll tell you. I mean, this industry is full of remarkable human beings. And so, you do have a little bit of the freedom, but there's always going to be two different people inside moving forward. There's adapters and those adopters. Adopters go early, and they're a small fraction of us. They're 10% of us. And what the adapters need, they're the remaining 75%. There's always going to be 15% will never do anything, but they need to see someone go ahead and see if it's successful or not. Now, it's safer to do it that way, but you'll never see those big wins about being early. You'll never get land grab wins. We've been doing video for a long time. By the time the industry is all caught up on video, Jordan, Trish, and I will already be at the next fertile ground of whatever that looks like, right? And so, they're not always successful, but if you look at the right things and the reasons why you're investing, like our clients are almost always not almost always, They are the priority when we make a change. How will this impact our clients? Our clients always have to win more than we do. Now, our clients might win because it's a huge win for us. It frees us up. Being paperless has been great for us because we can spend more time with our clients. But it's always a mindset of, does the client win when we invest our time doing something? And that is our first priority in everything we do. And one of the cool things about this is there is nothing we do. There is no marketing. There's no squeeze page. There's nothing we do in our business that we wouldn't be super proud to tell our clients that we do. Like, there's nothing we do that we wouldn't like. That's not part of our buyer package or our buyer presentation or our listing presentation. We do coming soon campaigns, and we have been doing them since 2015, and they're very, very successful. And those can generate huge amounts of leads or opportunities. But we tell our clients we're doing it because they benefit more than we would benefit with our business of any, opportunity that would come from it. So, a client is always first when we're looking at where we go next. That's always our first priority is our client. And once again, that's because we're not transactional. We're building a business, and we know that investment in those relationships and that quality of customer experience with our clients will pay off. And one of the things about being transactional is if you're only willing to put into the funnel what you think you can reap that quarter. And listen, our big corporations are built that way. They report quarterly to Wall Street, right? If you're only willing to put into the funnel what you can reap out that quarter, you're missing a huge opportunity for compound interest, because if you're willing to put something into your funnel that might not pay in 5 years, you're able to put a lot more in your funnel. And look, so it's going to be 5 years in a blink of an eye if you intend to be in this business. Jorda and I started to be partners, I think, in the late 90s. And her very first client, when she was working by herself, her first or second client, she's never represented them in the sale or a purchase of a property. She went to do an appraisal for them, told them it wasn't the right time to move and that they should hold on to their property, which must have been very difficult when you're being transactional. I have no idea how many deals they've sent us over the years. In the teens for certain. So that was a great funnel that didn't pay off immediately, but long-term has been remarkable for us. And then you take each one of those, let's say there's 14 clients that they've sent us. Each one of those clients have then ballooned into something else. So you look at that initial investment that wasn't going to pay off that quarter, but over 26 years has paid off, in such huge amounts, because from the get-go, Jorda, and one of the reasons why Jorda and I were meant to be business partners is that we have that same mentality, is that long-term building a business, relationship, entrepreneurship mindset. And then when Trish joined us 10 years ago, it was the same thing. It's just a perfect fit of this idea that it doesn't matter what happens today. If it's the right thing for the client, tomorrow will take care of itself. And it's a difficult thing, Dale, and I'm rambling on. I get it. I was a new agent. We were all new agents, and we had that office bill and that desk fee and that feeding my family and paying my mortgage staring us in the eye. I get that part of it. So yes, I understand that at some point you might have to sort of be a bit more transactional, but as soon as you can start shifting that mindset to thinking long-term, I can't tell you how beneficial it is to your business. No, I don't. No, I guess not. I mean, there's always some level of transaction in building a business. When we're out with a client and we see them in the right home, there's still, hey, let's get this put together. But that transaction is never because it's good for me because I need to pay my mortgage payment and it might not be the best decision for you. We're doing that because we've got 60 years of experience and we think that this is the right investment for our clients to make. And so we're never the priority because we've able to create a little bit of income, build a little bit of business where our mortgages and our food are taken care of. The moment that's taken care of, then we can start, we can make those long-term decisions. And so there might be our job is to help people buy and sell homes. So that's a transaction in itself. It's just none of those transactions are predicated on, I need this for me, opposed to, is this right for my client?
Yeah. No, I like that. I mean, and I guess the point is, if you feel like you're new and you feel like you're a little bit desperate, maybe isn't the right word, but you're feeling the pressure to earn $1 right now. There's a slow way that you can shift. It doesn't have to be an overnight all or nothing change. You can start looking for opportunities to build up some long-term goodwill with people and show them the kind of person that you are. And that will over time begin to pay off, because that's what the whole point of what you're saying. What I'm hearing you say is that if you shift your business that way, the short term also takes care of itself. So if you have a long-term approach, the short term will take care of itself.
Yeah, and it's almost sort of magical, because when the tomato is ripe on the vine, it's ripe on the vine. You just walk out one day into the backyard and it's ripe and it just shows up. And so, yeah, you put something in the hopper and 5 years later, it just shows up, and it just keeps happening and happening. And because there is that compound interest of the 5 years, I mean, during that ripening of that tomato, it may have led to a couple other offshoots, right? Like along the way with a referral or a recommendation somewhere else, or someone talking about you. And so you just wake up and that opportunity that you've been working on just shows up when it's ready. I don't possess the skill set to get someone to buy a home that doesn't want to buy a home, or to make someone sell a home that doesn't want to sell a home. My job is to be, the person that they know, like, and trust the most, that can help them do what they're trying to achieve. And when they need to achieve that goal, they can turn to us to help them through that process. That's what our job is to be relevant, useful, to build know, like, and trust, to build that relationship. So when they require our services, they pick up the phone and say, "Hey, Jorda, it's time to go." So that's that mentality of it.
Yeah, so I want to talk. I want to change gears here in a second, but I do want to ask about investing. A couple more questions. So Jacob asked in the chat, do you invest a planned percentage of your revenue back into your business? And so this is a question for you, Michael, and a question for everybody attending. Do you have a rule for yourself of how much you guys monetarily invest?
Yesterday morning, we were sitting around the table at the office, and we were going through this exact process to figure out where every dollar goes and where we should be leveraging, take more money out of here and more money out of there. That's funny that happens. We haven't been as good as it, in the past about that. We don't really have, let's spend this amount on it. We're working towards that right now with a lot of restructuring of the team and our systems, and that, not restructuring the team, but adding more new systems. As we've been working really hard at that. But yeah, I mean, the thing about, there's definitely marketing involved, but that comes from the listing side. When it comes to investing in those relationships, it's not monetary. I mean, you can buy a little gift, a little drop-off gift, but it's so much greater than that. What you're trying to do is, my mom, who was an agent before I was an agent, said, I sell trust and confidence. And that's really what we do sell, if we do sell something. And so being the expert in that might not be a financial investment, but more that relationship. But yeah, that's something we were working on Dale yesterday morning at the table. So if Jordan and Trish are watching, they'll be laughing knowing that that's something we were doing less than 24 hours ago.
So you told me a story the last time we talked about, I think it was about a dishwasher.
Yeah.
And this gets back to the investment topic.
Yes. It gets back to my showings that I did last night, ironically enough. So we all, I mean, I think the chat, I mean, I'd love for people to put this in the chat. You've represented a buyer. You've closed the property, or you've firmed up the offer. It's 2 months later. You're now at closing, and you show up with a buyer. You open up the front door. You walk them through the front house, and the house is dirty. I mean, the floors are a mess. There's stuff all over the countertops. We've all sort of been there, or we can all imagine being there. I would love for people to tell me what that feeling in the pit of their stomach is when they walk into that scenario. I would love for people to just put a couple like emotions into the chat about, you walk into the front door, you're handing keys over to a first-time home buyer, and the hardwood floors are a mess, and there's sort of junk all over the countertops. Because I that makes me feel joyful. I know that's a weird thing to say. It makes me feel happy or excited. The reason why I say that is because you're able to fix a problem that you didn't create and really show your value in a tough situation. And so the best investment you could ever make in that scenario was says, don't worry about it. I'm going to find some way to get cleaners down here as soon as I possibly can. I'll take care of it. We're not going to ruin your day. So fixing a problem that you didn't create. So there's a story of a client of mine. Dual agency is illegal in our marketplace now. Thank goodness. I hope it comes to every marketplace in North America. But this was a number of years ago, probably about 4 years ago. We were selling a home. We had the listing and we also had the buyer. And the night before the new buyers moved into the house, there was a windstorm. This is out in a neighborhood called Brookswood that has all these big, tall trees. I get a phone call in the morning from the current owners of that property saying, hey, Michael, what do I do? Part of the tree fell off last night and went through the roof of the shed, and the roof of the shed is destroyed. And I said, don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. You're moving to your new home today. I'm supposed to come see you at 3:00. Don't worry about it. Pretend it never happened. So I rushed down to the property knowing that the first-time home buyer would want to be there. And Chris and Alina, sure enough, were already there. They were in the backyard. And I walked into the backyard. They turned to me and they had this like ghostly look on their face. They're like, we just moved into our new home. And their big concern was, is it my insurance that's going to get dinged for it? Is it their insurance? Well, they had a contractor coming to the property later that day to give them a quote on remodeling the bathrooms. So I went back there that afternoon and I said to the contractor, how much is it going to cost to put on a new roof? They said, it's going to be $300 and a day's worth of labor. I said, put a new roof on. And that was an investment in that scenario in both those human beings of fixing a problem that wasn't my fault. It was the best marketing dollars I could ever do. They, in very short order, a month later, send me these clients. And I'll tell you, Dean is the husband's name, and they buy a place down in Fort Langley. And they move in, and the day they move in, the dishwasher doesn't work. And they send me a message, and the dishwasher doesn't work. Can you recommend a place? And oh my goodness, and this. So I call the other agent. It was in working order. Something happened. It was old anyway. I went down there. I dropped the check off for $500. I said, go pick up the dishwasher you want. And I was showing Dean's brother and mother property last night, so, and I don't know how many deals came out of that shed, but if you're talking about investment, taking care of a problem or fixing the emotion, once again, it's not even about the dishwasher. It's about the emotion that you're involved in. And that becomes an anecdote or a story that client can tell that other people can hear. And so you're allowing them to tell a story where they, and we'll get into the story, Brad, and how you talk about where they're the hero and I'm the guide, and that I solve the problem for them. And so look for those opportunities, especially if you're going to pay it anyway. This idea that you will, I don't know, I don't want to spend money. And this is the difference. I don't want to spend money, my $500 on my commission check. I want to argue that this wasn't my fault or whatever it is. And at the end of the day, let's say a month later, you end up paying the $500 anyway. Listen, you're out $500 and you get none of the goodwill of doing so. You spent that, you've burnt that goodwill. So that's one of the best investments you can make, is fixing a problem. Ideally, that wasn't your fault. I love fixing a problem that's not our fault. Happens all the time. Client of mine last week, Michael, we've moved out. We left the front door, back door open. They moved to Vancouver Island. Can you tomorrow go and shut the front door and the back door of the property? Tomorrow? You mean when the raccoon's living in there? I said, I'll be down there. I took a photo. I sent it to him. I was done within 15 minutes. Those little opportunities to fix problems, look for them all the time. And that's not $7 an hour work. That's $7 an hour. No, it's not. It's the best money, best time, best relationship you'll ever spend is that stuff. I rambled.
No, that's all good. And I did want to go there next. The story brand stuff, I think is really interesting to me. So the couple of things I wanted to talk about is the story brand stuff, which ties into, do your clients anticipate communications from you? Do they look forward to communications from you or not? And then lastly, we need to talk about branching automation.
Yeah.
So last two kind of topics here. Talk to us about the change that you've made in your marketing over your career and what that allows you to do with your prospects.
Yeah. So marketing has changed obviously dramatically since social, right? Like beforehand, they had to be these little sound bites in the newspaper or on a flyer that you couldn't determine where that communication ended up. So you weren't able to customize that communication to the potential reader or viewer of that communication. So everything we did in the 90s and the early 2000s was super like vanilla. You know, they just were like these blanket marketing. And then social comes along where you can start changing, you know, this group of people can get this sort of messaging and these group of people can get that sort of messaging, and which is super powerful. But it really opened my eyes up to like the type of messaging we were doing. Steve Passanelli said, Michael, you need to read this book. And it's called The Story Brand by Donald Miller. I'll pull it back here. And it's a remarkable book, and it's very, very simple. And it's one of those books where you read where you go, you know, someone just has to point it out to you. And it's basically, it breaks down the structure of every story that you've ever read. They're all kind of the same thing. And we realized that we were sort of doing it backwards or doing it very, very wrong. We were placing ourselves as the hero of the story so very often. Number one real estate in Tulsa, Oklahoma. That's making you the hero, right? That's very much you being the hero. I sold 3 houses this week. #boom. That's you're being the hero. The reality is the people reading your communication, your marketing don't want you to be the hero. They are the hero of the story. So the basic breakdown of a story is there's a character, a hero who has a problem, right? I need to buy my home. I need to sell my home, whatever it is. And that person meets a guide. And that's what we are. We're the guide. So one of the easiest examples is Star Wars. So Luke Skywalker has a problem and he meets a guide. In episode 4, it's Obi-Wan Ben Kenobi. In episode 5, it's Yoda, the same thing. And that guide gives them a plan to fix their problem. And the reason why the guide is so powerful is because they've done it before. They've done it 1,000 times. And it's the character, the heroes of the stories, first time through this problem. You are supposed to be the person you're supposed to be the steady hand. You're supposed to be the person that's done this the whole time. And so when you can tell stories, and stories can be as long as a book or as short as 2 sentences in a social media post. When you can, this gives you such a great framework. When you're able to position people that you're trying to communicate to, a past client, a buyer, seller, put them as the hero of the story and put you in the position of the guide that's going to give them a plan to guide them through to the outcome they're looking for. So the guide gives them a plan and calls them to action, right? Calls the CTA, call to action, that either ends in success or ends in failure. And that's important too when we're telling our stories. Here's the plan. If you follow it, these are what can go right. If you don't take this advice, here's how things can go wrong. Sometimes in our communications, we should let them know what can go wrong. And you know, both, not everything's always all positive. If you buy this house, it has this, but you know, there's development in the area and this might happen. So that's our job as a storyteller, is to really change the framework of where we are positioned in it. And it's amazing how, the book's amazing, but when you really grasp that concept in everything, and when you send an email, when you send a bomb video, when you send anything, they're the hero, you're the guide. And our industry, I think, has got that a little bit wrong. And someone said to me, you know why the industry's got it wrong is because people hire these marketing companies, right? Just think about who the marketing company's client is, the realtor. So that marketing company positions the realtor as the hero, and they're the guide. So by default, the realtor becomes the hero of their own story. But the marketing company is supposed to make you feel good so that you'll spend money with them, right? Like that's the thing. They're doing it right. We're just taking that wrong, and we're not shifting the hero one more over and positioning ourselves as the guide. And I think it's something that's changed what we do dramatically.
Yeah, I mean, it shifts your position in the prospect's mind. So when they call you, they're not, or when you call them, they're kind of warmed up already, right? So they kind of know who you are a little bit. They get this sense of who you are and how you operate. And now you don't have to do these, just dial, have as many conversations as possible. Now you have a kind of a pool of people that want to do business with you, similar to a referral. So you're taking your prospects and warming them up to almost the same level as a referral.
Yeah. And then just think about everything you're putting out. The potential consumer or past client is engaging with that content because you've made it very easy to put them in the shoes of the communication. You're not trying to say, hey, buyer, imagine what it's like to be the best realtor in the marketplace. They're not interested in your shoes. They're interested in the shoes that they're about to walk through and then take that path, right? The buyer, the seller, whatever it is. And so when your marketing allows them to easily slip into that story as the hero, that makes it a much more engaging piece of content.
Yeah, when I was years ago, I don't know, 15 years ago now, I was working for a training company. So I worked with a guy named Weldon Long, and we did sales training in the HVAC industry. And he had a heating, ventilation, air conditioning company. When he had his HVAC company, they grew really rapidly in town, became the largest company in town within like 5 or 7 years. And one of the things that they did was they had this guarantee, and they bought back a unit from somebody because she got sick. She got cancer and had to sell her property, had to sell the house. And they had this guarantee where they would buy back the unit for any reason at all. Well, when she told them that she had cancer and was going to have to sell the house and wanted them to put an older, cheaper unit in because she needed the money, they just said, you know what, leave it. Just, you can keep it. We'll give you your money back. They gave her money back. Well, that was $8,000 or $10,000 or something like that. But every single sales presentation, they told that story. And it wasn't blowing smoke. I mean, it wasn't fake. It was a real situation that happened. And it was something that they would be willing to do again. If it came up again, the company would have been willing to do that. But that $8,000, $10,000, best marketing money ever spent. Yep. And they could make that lady the main character in this quick little story that they would tell, one paragraph story that they would tell to their prospects. And as the prospect thinking, that's who I want as my guide. I don't know anything about HVAC, but this is who I want. Yeah. So those opportunities are all over the place. If we're looking for them, we can tell those stories and just crush it with the marketing. It just makes it more fun. It makes it more human.
Absolutely. And that's the whole point of a story. Listen, you can't communicate your value to someone unless you have their attention. That's the whole thing about marketing. First of all, you're going to go, can I please have your attention? Whatever that is, a video in the social media feed, whatever it is. Once you have your attention, then it's your job to communicate a compelling story. And so if you're able to hook them early on in the story that says, oh my goodness, this is me, they'll stick around because there's value for them in it. I don't know where the benefit is. I sold 3 houses this week, #boom. I don't know who benefits from that post, and I see it far too much. Once again, I don't blame an agent who doesn't know that that's not the right way to tell a story. You know, we kind of told stories like that, maybe not in that same way, that braggadocious way. We've never been that way. But, you know, when you realize, oh, we're the steady hand, and we've always acted like the steady hand, but when it comes to marketing, you realize, no, you're way better to be Yoda than Luke Skywalker. You're way better.
Yeah. And I mean, those things can work, to be fair. I mean, it can work to just, frequency. There is some branding. You get some benefit from that. It's not completely worthless, but there is a better way, right? There's a more compelling way, a more fun way, a smoother way than what a lot of us get sucked into because we've seen other people do it. So, Michael, let's talk a little bit about kind of the new automations and things that you've been working on for the last year or so. I know you're doing some cool things with some chat bots. You're working on building some workflows. How have you, why invest in all of this automation, first of all?
Because it's good for the client. That's really what it comes down to, right? So you're talking about this chatbot we built as a project, once again, was spurred on by Steve Passanelli. So much is spurred on by Mr. Passanelli. He told me to read a book called Launch. He tells me what to read. He just wrote a new book. So they're going to be on the New York Times best-selling list again. So he wrote, it told me to read this book called Launch, which was amazing. And it spurred this idea of what if we could build a course for sellers where they could learn everything they could do to help them buy or sell property. Once again, give them the plan, make them the hero, add more value to them, invest in their desire to learn about the process. And we created it, like you said, using a chat bot. It's called ManyChat. And it created this really dynamic, chaotic, choose your own adventure in the background. But to the consumer, it was a seamless process where what they want, when they wanted it, showed up in front of them. And so it was this really great, once again, experience for them because they got their needs met, in a very, very unique way. Through that process and learning how the chaos, the nonlinear, which we talked in another webinar, that nonlinear experience in the background doesn't appear anything but linear for the person that's going through the process, creates this amazing experience where it just the serendipitous, everything shows up when I want, and none of the information I don't want doesn't it just answers all my questions for me. Yeah. So that's one chapter of 12, but no one, the person taking that doesn't see that chaos. They just see a straight line because they're choosing their own adventure. It's just a straight line. So through that process, we understood how powerful that was to create this amazing customer experience. And when we were sitting around the table, looking to invest in a new CRM, what time we were going to invest in CRM, we came across Realvolve. I knew some of the crew over at Realvolve. And when the presentation of nonlinear workflows was presented to us, it didn't take me more than 10 seconds to go, I know what that means. I know how that could be useful. I understand. We're someone who doesn't understand. If it wasn't for Real Estate Unboxed, I don't know if I would grasp it, or Jordan and Trish and I would have grasped it as quickly. But because we had that experience, immediately the three of us goes, oh no, I know how that could be great for a customer experience. Automation doesn't replace the human connection for the people, but it makes it so easy to create a custom experience, one that's different for this person than this person. And that's the whole, when I go back to social media, one of the things that makes social media marketing so great. Yeah. So that's the same thing inside Realvolve. It's this, if you do this, then this happens. If you do this, then this happens. If this doesn't happen, then this happens. And so you're able then to take this and make this really a customized experience. Instead of everyone getting that same marketing from, a 1999 newspaper ad, the ad would change based on the person that was looking at it. If you were 55 plus and male, you'd get this ad. If you were 23 to 45 female, you'd get this ad. All of a sudden, that's a different experience, more customizable, more relationship building. And so when we look at how we can apply that experience to our past clients, it's magical. So, and it's, you invest the time in what we're doing right now with our database. This database is a past client who sent 2 referrals who lives in Langley. So if we do a newsletter that has information about Langley and some information, let's say about Surrey, which is the neighborhood next door, we might replace that section about Langley with Surrey, and only the Surrey people would get the Surrey market update. The Langley people get the Langley market update. They, it is customized to them, but they don't get distracted by information that's not useful to them. And you're able to create this great experience. And that too as well. The other thing, our team we've worked very hard at a reputation within the industry. When we're really excited about some of the things we're able to do with the people we're working with during the transactions. I mean, we do so many transactions each year, quite often with realtors we've worked with before, but I think they do. I hope when people pick up the phone and I say, hey, Tom, it's Michael Thorne, from Remax Lifestyles and the Thorne Maisie Bongers Real Estate Group. I've got an offer from you. I hope they go, great. I like working with Michael. He's good to work with. That pays you dividends so much down the road, which benefits your client. Your relationship with other agents in your marketplace benefits your client. Not only makes the transaction more enjoyable and all that sort of stuff, but benefits your client. So not only are we looking at automation to create this amazing experience for our current clients and our past clients, it's also the people that you touch every day, your mortgage brokers, your inspectors. It all matters. And so if there's some calories that can be burnt in automation, which allows us to go to the forefront and be more human, then you win. And some of the automation, Dale, and you can talk about it a little bit, doesn't mean it goes out without the human touch. It can come to you. You can put your human touch on it at the very last second before it goes out. You can still have a very human, real communication or experience. Just all that stuff in the background, we have this very consistent experience, which we're super excited about. That nonlinear mindset is so powerful. And that's why we're investing our time doing Navigator.
Yeah, I mean, we have one basic example that I like to use is when you're dealing with first-time home buyers, which in a typical year is about 30%, right? 1/3 of buyers are first time. So if we're thinking about a first-time home buyer, there are certain things that they want to know that maybe somebody that's already done 2 or 3 homes in their life doesn't necessarily need to know. Now,
Absolutely.
we could get in this debate of like, okay, well, you could parse it out and make it good for everybody. Sure. But with the choose your own adventure idea, you could, at the very first branch at the very top is this person a first-time home buyer or have they purchased a home before? And you get to decide that. You get to say they're a first-time home buyer. You click that button one time. Everything else that client gets is in this frame of first-time home buyer. So you're communicating to them all of the educational information, all of the nuance that they maybe don't have, all of the expectation setting, everything can be within that frame of reference. And to them, it just feels awesome. Like you are anticipating all of their questions because we know what questions they're going to have. We know, we've done lots of deals in the past, and even today, I could just start writing a few things down. If I don't have something like that now, I could just write a few things down as I'm working with a first-time home buyer. What questions do they have? What do they want to know about this? What step in the process can I work backwards to for the next person, communicate this early so that the question never even comes up? And now my clients just feel like I have anticipated every single thing that they're going to ask.
Now, the real secret sauce for me is not only that amazing experience you've supplied for that first-time home buyer. My experience is then taking and looking at the other side of the coin. You presented the information to the first-time home buyer that they needed and wanted. Let's say there are, in my marketplace, there are incentives that are available to first-time home buyers that aren't available to anyone else. So it's not like, do you want to know the information? It's not relevant. It's not applicable to you. So if I have a resale client, and one of the emails that goes out is, if you're a first-time home buyer, did you know that there's these incentives? Now it's not only, now it sounds like you didn't listen to them, that you didn't, now they feel like they are getting a blanket experience because you're sending them an email that doesn't apply to them. So not only is it valuable to supply the information to someone who wants it, I think it's equally as valuable not to supply information to someone that it doesn't apply to. So more is not better. Like let's answer every question and give it to everybody. No, you're wasting their time. It makes it sound like you didn't listen to them. And that's where that power of that automation really comes in, Dale, is it not only provides the information to the right person, it doesn't provide the information to the wrong person. And that is as valuable. Both sides of that coin are as important to your automation moving forward, because that means, oh, they didn't listen to me. They're sending me first-time home buyer stuff. I told them that I was reselling my property. That to me is as valuable as providing it. And that's magical to me.
Yeah. And I mean, the other thing is we've worked with tens of thousands of real estate agents, right? So we have tens of thousands of people in our platforms, and we try to, we put a lot of effort into building up this library of knowledge as well for posterity. And we are happy to share lots of things. And there's other people like you, Michael, that are happy to share their learning, their trial and error with automation, with technology. And we've put that into a library of content that people can download. Some of it's free, some of it's paid. It just depends on where it came from and how it was created and how often it's maintained. But there's a wealth of information that people in this industry have contributed to our library to help us get a head start. And the beautiful thing is folks like you then tweak it, make it your own, and come up with all kinds of really cool ideas that are unique to you and the culture that you've built between you and your clients. between you and your other team members, between you and the loan officers and the title people and everybody else that you're working with. And so it's just a beautiful thing. You get to not lose all of that, all of that time and effort that you put. You get to use it over and over and over again in every transaction, every client that you work with, to create this really high experience. And now it doesn't take you all of this effort to do it every single time, because we all want to help create an awesome experience with our clients. But if it takes all of our energy to do that every single time, then when we get busy and we have a few more transactions than we're used to, it's impossible to maintain that high level of customer service.
And one of the things too is the advantage, and we're talking about, like, we didn't talk about lifestyle, that much in balance, but one of the things that allows us to do, one of the very hard things to do as real estate agents, I think, is to turn our brain off. We're constantly thinking, we were talking about it yesterday. Trish, we were talking about days off, and Trish was saying, I had a day off, whatever it was, or no, it was someone saying, Trish, like, even if you have a Sunday day off, you're not off because you're thinking about, did I do this? And what happens if this happens? And what are the phone call makes? One of the things about having a system in place, however it is that if you follow that system, it frees your brain to know that there was we didn't miss something. Nothing was missed. We got it. And the thing too, as well, is constantly then going back and reevaluating long-term that system. Where did, like you said, where did it fall down? Where can we improve it? And then you're constantly investing a little bit of time, that compound experience 5 years from now, when that workflow is absolutely flawless, right? Like, that's the exciting part, is that constant improvement of this experience. And one of the things, I love Evernote. The problem with Evernote is it's blank when you get it. It can be anything you want. So if you're a super structured person, you can have Evernote super structured. If you are a chaotic organizer, it works just as well for that mindset. But the problem is it lets you set it up because it's a blank slate. It can be anything you want. I also see that very similar with Realvolve. The benefit to Realvolve is it's not a cookie cutter. It's not like, here's how it's going to work for your business. I hope you fit this mold. The hard part, not the hard part, the investment part of it and the exciting part of it, it can be whatever you want. It can be exactly the way you run your business, the way you care for your clients. If you're all front end and lead generation and lead conversion, you can have it exactly the way you want it. If you're all like us, about that relationship 7 years after the transaction, it can be exactly what you want. And that's the exciting part. But I think that's why people look at it and go, what? But you can build it. You can invest the time. It's magical in anything we do when it can be exactly what we need for our clients. There's a feature on Facebook. You can upload your client database to Facebook, and it creates what they call a lookalike audience, where it goes and markets to people that look like your current database. But the best lookalike audience you'll ever have are the friends and family of your current clients. Those are lookalikes. Your client's friends are just like your client. And when you build a business, and you get to work with people you really like, and they send more people, like, I love when the phone rings and someone I love as a client says, my best friend is about to buying a house. Will you help them? I know I'm going to love them. They're going to be amazing human beings. Your best lookalike audience is the relationships of the people that you've already proven your value to. And so when you can nurture that, it makes your life better. We talked about this real quick. If you understand your value as an individual agent, as a team, if you understand your value you provide to a potential consumer, first of all, you got to define that. If you know what your value is, and you then become skillful at articulating that value in a 45-minute, hour-and-a-half presentation, a listing presentation or a buyer presentation, if you become skilled in being able to articulate your value to somebody, if at the end of knowing what your value is and being skilled to it, articulating it, if at the end of that process, the person across the table from you doesn't recognize your value, that's when you walk away. That's when you have a business. That person is going to suck so much time and energy and happiness and success out of you. Walk away. And when you're being transactional, you're like, oh, I'll make this person, the person's going to be miserable. He's never going to recommend you. He's never going to refer you. He doesn't see your value. And so that is one of those things about building a business is we love the people we work with. We love the people we work with. And because we love them, it becomes this great experience, this relationship experience. Jorda was going through all our old files the other day. We pulled all old files for Realvolve to put our old clients in from like 1999. And she said to me, you know what, Michael? I opened up this file and I remember certain things about that transaction, like not like addresses, but certain events and certain emotions or a lunch we had or a funny anecdote that happened. That's amazing because we love the people we work with and they feel that and they know that. And I think that's really, really important that you're happy in what you do day to day. That becomes infectious and your client feels it.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many people that we talk to every day that, that talk about this challenge of real estate's heavy on your mind, even when you're not working. And so when we go back to the beginning where we were starting to talk about success and how you define that, for us, we define our success when somebody can say, I can now sleep at night, not worrying about the detail that was left undone, that I haven't thought of, that's going to bite me later. And the funny thing about the way that you phrased that about not having a day off, the whole reason why Dave, my business partner, started Realvolve, he's the CEO of Realvolve. The whole reason why he started it is because he was out at the pool barbecuing with his family. He's got 4 girls and his wife is there and she's like, isn't this amazing? And he's like thinking to himself, no, I'm not relaxed. This isn't amazing. I'm thinking about tomorrow already. I'm thinking about all the deals I got to pick back up after had taken a day off, and I got to juggle all these balls again. And so that was the whole reason why we started doing this thing. And going back to your comment about thinking, or Jorda remembering, I can't remember if you said it was Trish or Jorda, but remembering deals from 1999 and little details about them. There's this phenomenon in social psychology that I absolutely love, and it's called the peak end rule. And essentially the rule is we don't remember everything about an event. I think this is from Thinking Fast and Slow, the book Thinking Fast and Slow. We don't remember all of these details about our event, a certain event. How our brain works is that we pick up, a lot of times we'll remember the end and we remember the peak. There might be more than one peak, but these peak emotional moments within the memories, within the timeline, we remember really well. They're imprinted on our brain. And so what are those emotional times within a transaction that you're working with on a client? You've already told several stories today, Michael, about a shed, about a dishwasher, about a dirty house. Those things are what clients are going to remember because there was this big emotion involved in that. And the teams that are using automation really effectively can now spend time in those moments to help their clients. And the best teams build the automation in already assuming that there's certain emotional moments in a transaction. When an offer is accepted, there's some excitement there a lot of times, and maybe some buyer's remorse, or there's emotion there that we already know is kind of built into the process. And we should be there with our clients during those emotional times. One of my favorite examples is Treasure Davis. She's just down the road from me here in Colorado Springs. She's got a phenomenal team, and all of the automation stems around their core values. And she has these little text messages that come to her, right? So her team might do more than 400 transactions in a year, and yet she's sending a little bomb video to congratulate every single one of the clients that her team members are working with at certain times. And so Realvolve sends her the text message that says, an offer was accepted on such and such a property. Here's the person's email address. And she can click that right from the text message and send off a little custom bomb video that she shoots on the fly. And it takes her 10 seconds, maybe 15 seconds. It is so easy to do. And yet that's what the clients remember. 2-3 years down the road, they're going to remember that Treasure was there at that time and was able to, experience that with them and have the joy with them, or empathize with their pain during certain stressful moments.
because you're acknowledging that they're the hero. You just said,
That's right.
you just said about you guys, you said that your definition of success was Realvolve is when realtors can have a peaceful Sunday afternoon. Just think about what you just said. The realtor was the hero. You gave them a plan because you're the guide. That makes you successful. It's because you're the guide and not the hero in that definition of success. And it is a mindset. It is a mindset that I think is and it goes back to the entrepreneur, not like a boss mindset, but it's either a mindset that you're sort of already pre-wired with. Jordan was, it was what we always wanted to build. But I think it's a mindset that you could get your head around if you're not currently working that way. And I think when you see all the ripple benefits of running your business in a way that meets your why, and we didn't even get into that. Like, first of all, if you don't know why the heck you're a realtor, there's a place to start. Like, if you don't know why you're waking up in the morning, then you are transactional. If the only reason why you're a realtor is because it pays the bills, by nature, you are a transactional agent. If there's no greater purpose of what you're creating, if there's nothing else, you will by default be a transactional agent if you don't know why you're doing it. Because the only reason why you're doing it is to pay the bills. That's it. You're a transactional agent. So if you're able to start to define these things, and sometimes it's an easy process, sometimes it's very obvious, sometimes it takes someone else to reflect on with you and go through the process. But there's a lot of great books out there. Start with Why. Simon Sinek's a great book. But if you can define why you're doing it, you got to do that, to begin with, and then you can start looking at what you're trying to achieve and have long-term goals, and put systems in place that make you more human or not less. We use paperless because it makes us more human face-to-face with our client. That's a technology that makes us more human. We use BombBomb because it makes us more human. And we use Realvolve because it makes us more human. Technology doesn't get between us and our client. It gets behind us so we can be closer to our client. That's up to you. I've said many times, don't blame the wrench, blame the mechanic. If you're using these tools in the wrong way, it's not the wrench's fault. These technologies that we use, we look, we examine, we say, how does this benefit our client? And it benefits us by pushing us further up to have those relationships, to be there when they need us, to create these customer experience, to help them through this process, to help them through their story of blowing up the Death Star. That's a big, huge, just wrap around that. We tied it all up.
We did tie it all up. Thank you so much for joining us today, Michael. I always love chatting with you. I know we get a little bit philosophical here on these. I told you guys, I warned you at the beginning that we do things a little bit differently in these conversations. But I think it is really important to establish the why behind what we're doing, because automation without the why is going to feel like a waste of time. And it is an investment. You need to understand
Dale, it won't feel like a waste of time. It will be a waste of time.
Correct. Yeah, it will be a waste of time. Thanks for correcting me there. If you don't understand what you're trying to accomplish there, it's going to be a waste of time. Maybe you want to double your transaction count this year. Automation can absolutely help you do that with less effort. Maybe you want to spend less time doing the same amount of transactions that you're doing and make deeper connections with people in your community. Automation can absolutely help you do that. So if you establish the why behind what you're trying to do, you can escape the revolving door of CRMs and technology. You don't have to jump ship every year. You can pick something like Realvolve that can grow with you and go any direction that you want. Maybe you're concerned about your past clients right now. Maybe you're concerned about lead conversion. Maybe you want to elevate your level of customer service. Maybe you want something specifically for your admin to be able to work in and keep them organized as they're doing transaction management, transaction coordination. Realvolve can absolutely help with that. We have a really powerful automation platform called we call our workflows, and it's built on a 4D automation platform. And if you want to hear about what that is and why it is so different, click on that link that Jacob put there. Jacob's put it twice, I think, there. Actually, So Jacob, if you don't mind, post that again one more time for all the attendees. And we would love to talk to you. We always say we're not the perfect fit for everybody right now. Might not be the right time. Yeah. But just have a conversation with us. Let's explore that. We always say that no is a perfectly acceptable answer, but I don't know is not acceptable. We need to seek out these solutions and make sure that we understand them in our business. It's really crucial. And there's a reason why. Go ahead.
Yeah, Dale, I just want one more thing on that. And it's important because Dale's going to say that Realvolve is a great solution for you, or not for everybody, but it might be a great solution for you. You know, he's telling the truth. It's a great solution for us, but he also has Realvolve on his t-shirt. If there's anyone who wants to pick up the phone and ask me, I don't have an affiliate link with Realvolve. I've never been paid a dime to say nice things about Realvolve. There's no benefit for me if you sign up with Realvolve. If you ever want to pick up the Facebook Messenger and fire me a message and ask me a question about our experience with it so far, feel free to do that. If you need an outside source to bounce something off of, feel free. I will tell you exactly how it's benefited us, or what I like or what I don't like about it, where I see the opportunities. I will tell you. I will. I'll be a little bit of a Yoda for you if you want me to, because I've been through it before. But if anyone wants to reach out, I'm easy to find. You'll find me online. I think a lot of people sometimes if they want to reach out and ask me a question, do it.
That's very generous of you, Michael. Thank you so much. Again, thanks for your time. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Shoot me an email if you have any questions, dalewarner@realvolve.com. You can find Michael on Facebook or other social media platforms. And feel free to click on that link. A couple of people said that link's not working. It's working for me. I don't know what the problem is, but we'll get that tracked down. And we'll be sure to email that link out as well in the follow-up emails and make sure that it's working. So thanks for joining, everybody. Have a great day. Make it a great end of the week here, and we will see you on the next one. Bye for now.